Help us hit our first 1,000 subscribers. Your support drives us to create even more wonderful stories. Thanks for being part of our journey. It was a quiet Thursday evening when Nathan pulled into the driveway of their 2-story suburban home, humming along to the radio, completely unaware that everything he believed about his family was about to unravel. He walked in through the front door, expecting to be greeted by the warm scent of dinner and the excited laughter of their 8-year-old son, Liam, but instead found the house eerily silent. Only the faint creak of floorboards above hinted that someone was home. "Lena?" he called out, slipping off his shoes a few moments later. Lena descended the staircase slowly. Her face pale and lips pressed into a tight line, she clutched something in her hand. A crumpled white envelope that she tried to discreetly tuck behind her back as she reached the bottom step. Nathan noticed immediately. "What's that?" he asked casually, smiling, but Lena didn't smile back. "Nothing important," she replied too quickly, then walked past him toward the kitchen. Her hands were trembling. Curiosity flared in Nathan's chest. She had never been good at hiding things. Her face always gave her away. He followed her, pretending not to press, but the tension between them thickened like fog. As Lena opened the fridge, Nathan leaned casually on the counter and asked again, "You sure everything's okay?" She nodded, eyes fixed on something unseen inside the fridge. Then she muttered, "Just a dumb letter? Probably spam. From someone I used to know." That was the first crack, the first drop of poison in the well of their marriage, because Nathan knew something was off. Something that had nothing to do with spam. He watched her shove the envelope deep into the kitchen drawer beneath the silverware and force a smile. Later that night, when Lena had gone upstairs to help Liam with homework, Nathan couldn't help himself. He opened the drawer. The envelope was still there. Unsealed inside was a single sheet of paper typed. No name, no return address. The message read, "You thought you could hide forever, Lena? He deserves to know the truth. We all do." Nathan stood frozen. The words echoed in his head like a warning. He turned to look up the stairs where his wife and child were, suddenly feeling like he didn't recognize the life he was living. He didn't know it yet, but that letter was just the beginning of a truth far more dangerous than he could ever imagine. Nathan couldn't sleep that night. He lay awake in the dim light of the hallway, staring at the ceiling, the words from the letter looping in his mind. "You thought you could hide forever, Lena? Hide what? From whom? And most importantly, what was Liam supposed to know?" Beside him, Lena breathed softly in her sleep. As if nothing had happened, Nathan turned his head slowly toward her. She looked peaceful, but now, to him, that peace felt like a mask. At 3:17 a.m. Nathan finally rose from bed. He tiptoed downstairs, sat at the kitchen table, and placed the letter in front of him. He stared at it as if the paper might answer him if he stared hard enough. He opened his laptop. He began with the basics. He typed her full name, Elena Marie Porter, her maiden name, nothing strange at first. An old yearbook photo, a few archived addresses, some minor social media mentions, but then a link to a police report surfaced dated almost 11 years ago, filed in a small rural town called Dunsfield, 3 states away. Nathan's heart pounded. He clicked the link. The report was brief but chilling. A missing person case filed by a man named Andrew Hale. It mentioned his then-girlfriend, Elena Porter, who allegedly disappeared after a domestic dispute. She'd taken money, a vehicle, and vanished. The case was closed after 5 years due to lack of evidence and absence of the subject. Nathan's breath caught. Could this Andrew be the person behind the letter, or someone else from that past she'd run from? He shut the laptop slowly. His hands were cold. He had never heard of Dunsfield. Lena had told him she grew up in a coastal town. She said she had no family left. Was everything a lie? The next morning, Nathan tried to act normal. He made pancakes for Liam, who grinned at the sight of whipped cream smiley faces. But even as Liam laughed and talked about his upcoming field trip, Nathan couldn't stop looking at Lena, watching every word, every glance. Lena seemed tense. She barely touched her breakfast and kept checking her phone. Nathan wanted to confront her, to hold up the letter and demand the truth. But something stopped him. What if this was bigger than just a secret? What if by revealing he knew, he'd make things worse? And most of all, what if Liam was somehow in danger? Nathan forced a smile across the table. "Everything okay?" he asked gently. Lena blinked once, then smiled back. "Of course," she said. But Nathan knew That smile wasn't real, and neither was the life they had been living. The next day, Nathan made a decision he never imagined he would. He called in sick to work. He told Lena he had a headache and just needed to rest. She barely looked up from her phone as she nodded. Then she left the house with a kiss on Liam's forehead. And none for Nathan. Once she was gone, Nathan packed a bag. His destination was set. Dunsfield, the place from the report, the place where Lena had vanished from a decade ago. It was a 5-hour drive, and with every passing mile, Nathan's heart grew heavier. He was chasing a ghost from a life he never knew existed, but he had to know the truth. Especially now that someone else knew her truth. When he reached the small town, it looked like something out of a forgotten postcard. Faded buildings, a diner with a crooked sign, a post office that probably hadn't been updated since the 80s. Nathan walked into the sheriff's office. It smelled like old coffee and dust. He introduced himself as just doing family research. The deputy, a man named Cal, narrowed his eyes at the name. Elena Porter, you mean Lena Hale? He asked. Nathan froze. Hale? He repeated. Cal nodded slowly. She married Andrew Hale right out of high school. Disappeared not long after. Was a whole mess back then. You related? Nathan shook his head. He didn't even know what to say, so he asked the one question burning in his mind. Did she ever have a child with Andrew? Cal leaned back, scratching his neck. Nah, they didn't have kids. At least not that we know of. Just fights, screaming matches, police visits. Then boom. She's gone. We figured she ran for good reason. Nathan swallowed hard. So Lena had been married before, and she never told him. He left the station with his mind racing. What else was she hiding? Who was the man who wrote that letter? He stopped at a diner across the street. The waitress, an older woman with silver hair and sharp eyes, noticed him glancing at a photo on the wall. It showed a group of high school students. One of them looked just like Lena, only younger and smiling with her arms around a boy. Andrew. That's from senior year. The waitress said. You knew Elena? I think I married her, Nathan replied quietly. The woman's eyes widened, and then she said something that made Nathan's blood run cold. Then you should know. Andrew came back into town last week. He's been asking around, looking for someone, and he doesn't look like a man who's just curious. Nathan stood up, leaving his coffee untouched. Suddenly, the road home felt a lot farther, because if Andrew was back, and Lena had lied about him ever existing, then maybe the letter wasn't a warning. Maybe it was a threat. Nathan arrived home just after midnight. The house was silent, too silent. He stepped inside and noticed the living room lights were off. Odd for Lena, who always left one on. Comfort. Liam's toys were scattered across the floor. Untouched. Something was off. He walked into Liam's room. His son was sleeping soundly, curled up with his stuffed dinosaur. Nathan gently brushed a hand over Liam's hair, grateful, more than ever, that he was home and safe. But deep down, Nathan knew that safety was temporary. When he entered their bedroom, Lena was awake, sitting in bed, arms crossed, the glow of her phone lighting her face. Where were you? She asked flatly. Nathan lied without blinking. Just needed a drive. Some air. Lena didn't argue, but she didn't believe him either. Her eyes said it all. Cold, guarded, unreadable. Nathan sat on the edge of the bed, his mind racing. How could he even begin to ask about Andrew? What if she denied it again? Or worse, what if she told the truth? But before he could speak, Lena said something strange. Have you noticed anyone watching the house lately? Nathan froze. No. Why? She hesitated, then shook her head. Never mind. Probably just my imagination. Nathan watched her closely. She was scared. He could see it in her eyes, but she didn't want to let him in. Later that night, Nathan couldn't sleep. Something in his gut told him the truth wasn't in Lena's words. It was in her past, and maybe in the house itself. So while Lena slept beside him, Nathan slipped out of bed. He crept down the hallway to the attic door. It had been sealed shut since they moved in. Lena said it was just insulation and junk, but the lock was new, too new. He picked it open with a screwdriver and climbed the creaking steps. The attic smelled like dust and age. He flicked on the small bulb overhead, and his heart almost stopped. There were boxes, not storage boxes, boxes filled with letters, photos, documents. One photo in particular made his breath catch. Lena, only younger. smiling next to a man in military uniform on the back. Elena and Andrew, July 2011. Another box held court papers restraining orders filed by Andrew Hale against Elena Hale for abandonment and theft. Nathan's hands shook as he sifted through the pile. Buried under the papers was something worse, a birth certificate. Liam's. But the father's name wasn't Nathan, it said. Andrew Hale. Nathan staggered back, the attic spinning around him. This couldn't be true. He clutched the paper, his knuckles white. Lena had lied about her past, but this wasn't just betrayal. This was something else, something dark. Because if Andrew knew Liam was his son, then maybe that letter wasn't just a threat, maybe it was a warning. And maybe, just maybe, Liam was never safe to begin with. Nathan sat on the attic floor, staring at the paper in his trembling hands. His mind refused to believe what his eyes were reading. Liam wasn't biologically his son. He had been raising another man's child without knowing, and Lena, she had known the entire time. A cold sweat broke across his forehead. He stuffed the papers back into the box and shut the attic door behind him. His thoughts raced, tangled, panicked. He couldn't confront her yet, not without knowing what else she was hiding. The next morning, Lena acted like nothing happened. She made pancakes, she kissed Liam's forehead, she smiled at Nathan like she hadn't detonated his entire life. Nathan played along. He needed more time, more proof, and a plan. While Lena was in the shower, he snuck into her purse inside. He found her phone. The screen was locked, but Nathan had memorized her passcode years ago. He unlocked it. His heart pounded as he opened her recent messages. There were no texts from Andrew, but there was a hidden folder in her photo gallery. Inside were pictures of Liam at the park, taken from a distance. Nathan's stomach turned. These weren't pictures Lena took. They were sent to her from a number saved only as unknown. He checked her call log. That same number had called yesterday. While he was gone, she had talked for nearly 15 minutes. Nathan quickly wrote the number down and closed everything before Lena returned. His hands shook as he returned the phone, but what came next shook him harder. That afternoon, while Nathan was picking Liam up from daycare, his phone rang. An unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. A low, raspy voice came through the line. You should have stayed out of it. Nathan. Then a click. Silence. Nathan froze, his grip tightening on the phone. Who was that? Was it Andrew? How did he get Nathan's number? He looked down at Liam, who was happily munching crackers and drawing dinosaurs in the back seat. Nathan's heart dropped. This wasn't just a family secret anymore, it was a ticking bomb. Back home, Nathan tried to act normal, but Lena noticed. "You're quiet," she said, handing him a glass of water. He looked her dead in the eyes. "Do you have something to tell me, Lena?" She paused just for a moment, then shook her head. "No." "Why?" Nathan didn't push, but he knew she was lying again. That night, while Lena and Liam were asleep, Nathan stepped outside. He sat on the porch and dialed the number he had copied from her phone. It rang once, then it answered, but no one spoke. Nathan's voice cracked. "What do you want?" A pause, then a whisper. "He's not safe with her." Then the line went dead. Nathan stared into the night, his heart pounding in his ears. The voice hadn't said who wasn't safe, but Nathan already knew. Liam, his son, or at least the boy he had raised as his son, was in danger, and the biggest threat might already be inside their house. The next morning, Nathan couldn't shake the voice from the call. "He's not safe with her." It echoed in his mind like a threat and a warning all at once. Every time Lena smiled or called out to Liam, Nathan questioned if it was real or a mask. He knew he couldn't protect Liam without answers. So Nathan did something desperate. He called the number again. This time, the man answered. Nathan didn't waste a second. "I want to meet." The voice was cautious. "Alone?" "Yes." Nathan said, "Tell me everything you know." They agreed to meet in a parking lot on the edge of town. It was a forgotten strip mall. Half the stores abandoned. Nathan arrived early, heart pounding, watching every car that passed. A black SUV pulled up. A tall, thin man stepped out. Nathan recognized him from an old photo in the attic. Andrelina's ex. The man looked older, more worn down, but his eyes were sharp. "Did she tell you I was dead?" Andrew asked with a bitter laugh. Nathan nodded. "She said you died in a car crash years ago." Andrew leaned against his car. "I wish I had. It would have been easier than living in hiding." Nathan's head spun. Hiding? From what? Andrew lit a cigarette from her. He went on to explain that years ago, Lena had lied to him about everything. Her name, her background, even her family. He didn't find out until she was pregnant she was different after Liam was born. Andrew said, colder, secretive, like she was planning something. Nathan's hands clenched into fists. He didn't want to believe it, but it fit too well. Andrew pulled out a crumpled photograph. It was of Liam as a baby. And Andrew holding him. She left one day without a word. He said, took Liam, changed their names, vanished. Nathan stared at the picture. I thought he was mine. Andrew met his eyes. I thought so too, but now, I don't think Liam is biologically either of ours. The world shifted beneath. Nathan, what are you saying? Andrew looked serious. She was seeing someone else back then, a man with power. She talked about him like he could protect her from anything. I think she was running from him. Nathan backed away slowly. So you're telling me Liam might belong to someone even worse? Andrew didn't answer. He just nodded. Nathan got in his car and drove straight home. His thoughts spiraled. If Lena had lied to both of them, who really was Liam? When he walked through the front door, the house was silent. No cartoons, no laughter, no footsteps. Liam? He called. No answer. Lena? He shouted. Still silence. He ran upstairs. Liam's room was empty, his bed untouched. His favorite dinosaur toy missing. Panic set in. He rushed into the master bedroom. The closet was open. Several bags were missing. On the nightstand, a note. Nathan picked it up, hands shaking. It was Lena's handwriting. It read, "Don't follow me. It's not safe for either of you now." Nathan's knees buckled. She was gone, and she had taken Liam with her. Nathan's heart raced as he stared at the note. His hands trembled, unable to fully process the words. Don't follow me. It's not safe for either of you now. But she had already taken Liam. There was no one else left to protect. He tried calling Lena's phone. Straight to voicemail again, and again no response. It was like she had vanished into thin air. Nathan ran to the garage. Her car was gone, but his truck was still there. Without thinking, he jumped in and sped off down the road. Unsure of where to go, he had no plan, just one mission. Find Liam. First stop, the school. Maybe she hadn't picked him up yet. Maybe it was all a sick misunderstanding. But the receptionist gave him a confused look. Mr. Harris. Lena called earlier. She said you both had a family emergency and Liam would be gone for a while. Nathan clenched his jaw. She had planned this, every move. He drove to the police station, tried to file a report, but the officer looked at him with tired eyes. Sir, she's the boy's mother. Unless there's evidence of danger, there's not much we can do. Nathan slammed his hand on the desk. She lied about everything. She faked her identity, changed their names. The man I just met says she kidnapped Liam from him years ago. That got the officer's attention. Nathan showed the old photo. Andrew gave him Liam as a baby in another man's arms. The officer leaned in. All right, he said quietly, let me make some calls. As Nathan waited, his thoughts swirled. How many people had Lena deceived? Who was this powerful man from her past? Why was she so afraid of being found? The officer returned with something in his hand, a paper. We found a match. Lena isn't who she says she is. Her real name is Elena Marsh. She was involved in a high-profile custody case 12 years ago. The child, Liam, was at the center of it. She fled during the trial. Nathan's blood ran cold. So everything Andrew said was true, but that meant Liam's entire life had been built on a lie. Do you know where she might go? The officer asked. Nathan thought hard, then it hit him. There was only one place Lena ever mentioned with fear in her voice, a cabin in Montana, her last resort. He stood up. I think I know where she's going. The officer looked hesitant. You should let us handle it. Nathan shook his head. She's got my son. I'm not waiting around. He turned and walked out. The road ahead would be long, but nothing could stop him now. His son's life might depend on it. The drive to Montana felt endless. Nathan barely stopped for gas. His hands were glued to the wheel. His eyes scanned the road ahead like a predator tracking prey. The snow had started to fall. Thick flakes drifted across the windshield, clouding his vision. He hadn't eaten, hadn't slept, but adrenaline kept him alive. His mind kept flashing back to Liam. Was he scared? Was he safe? Did he even know the truth? And Lena, or Elena, the woman he loved, the woman who held him at night, who carried his child, who lied about everything. He found himself gripping the steering wheel tighter every time he thought of her face. How could someone so gentle be capable of so much destruction? As the road climbed higher into the mountains, Nathan's GPS lost signal. He pulled over and stared at the map he printed hours earlier. There it was, Cabin Hollow Ridge, remote, secluded, perfect for hiding a secret. Night fell fast. The deeper he drove, the darker the world became. The trees closed in on both sides, towering like silent watchers. Then, headlights coming from the opposite direction. Nathan slowed down, heart thudding. The car passed him. He caught a glimpse, a silver Subaru. It looked exactly like Lena's. He slammed the brakes. Did she see him? Was Liam in the back? He turned the truck around, tires screeching on the icy road. He chased the taillights through the dark forest roads, but the Subaru suddenly vanished like a ghost swallowed by the trees. Nathan stopped the truck and got out. The silence was deafening. Then, footprints leading off the road, 2 sets. One big, one small. Nathan's chest tightened. She had stopped here. She was close. He grabbed a flashlight and followed the trail branches cracked beneath his boots. The cold bit into his fingers, but he didn't care. The footprints led to a narrow path winding through the woods. Then, finally, a dim light in the distance. A cabin. Smoke curling from the chimney, a shadow moving inside. He dropped to his knees behind a tree, breath frozen in his throat. There they were. Liam was sitting by the fire, hugging a stuffed bear, and Elena was pacing back and forth, talking on the phone. Nathan strained to listen. She found us, she whispered. I don't have much time. Nathan's heart stopped. Who was she talking to? Not the police, not Andrew, someone else, someone darker. He reached for his phone. No service. If he went in now, he risked everything, but if he waited, he might lose Liam forever. He took a breath, one step closer, then another. And just as he reached for the door, a shadow behind him moved. Nathan froze as he felt the air shift behind him. A twig snapped, then silence. He spun around, flashlight trembling in his hand. The beam caught a man tall, wearing a hood, his face partly hidden in the shadows. Who are you? Nathan hissed. His voice was low but shaking. His body shielded the cabin behind him. The man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he lifted both hands slowly. No need for drama. He said, I'm not here to hurt you. Nathan didn't lower the flashlight. Then why are you sneaking up behind a father looking for his son? The man sighed, his breath curled in the cold night air. My name is Victor. He said, I work for someone who's been looking for Lena, or as you know her, Elena. Nathan's heart skipped. This wasn't just about betrayal. This was bigger, darker. She owes people. Victor added, serious people. Nathan narrowed his eyes. She told me she left that life behind. She said she was clean. Victor let out a bitter chuckle. She lied. She always lies. And now your son is caught in the crossfire. Nathan's breath caught. Where is she taking him? To the border, Victor said tonight. Nathan's mind reeled. The cabin wasn't the final stop. It was a pit stop. She was running again. I can help you, Victor said, stepping forward, but you need to trust me. Nathan looked back at the cabin. Liam was still there, still safe. But for how long? What do you want in return? Nathan asked. Victor's face hardened. Just make sure she pays for what she's done. A long silence hung between them. Nathan clenched his jaw. He nodded. All right. Let's end this. Victor pulled out a small tracking device. She's got a burner phone. This'll let us trace the signal, but we have minutes, maybe less, before she bolts. Nathan took one last look at Liam through the window. He was reading something, so unaware, so innocent. Nathan turned back to Victor. Then let's move, before I lose my son forever. They crept through the trees, silent but fast, and just as they reached the cabin door, Lena stepped outside, holding Liam's backpack. Her face froze when she saw Nathan, and in that moment, everything changed. Lena stood motionless on the wooden porch, clutching Liam's backpack. Her eyes darted between Nathan and Victor. There was no mistaking it. She had been caught. Nathan stepped forward, slowly, carefully. He raised both hands. Lena, just talk to me. His voice was calm, but the storm inside him was raging. Lena's lips quivered. She looked exhausted, haunted. I wasn't going to hurt him, she whispered. I needed to get away. They were closing in. Nathan glanced at Victor. He was watching her like a hawk, no sympathy, only cold intent. You lied to me for years, Nathan said, his voice hardening. About your name, your past, and now this. Lena looked at Liam through the window. He was watching from inside. Eyes wide with confusion, she swallowed. He's all I have. No, Nathan snapped. He's our son, and you almost ripped him away from me forever. Victor stepped closer. You said you burned the files. Lena, you said you disappeared. She turned sharply toward him. You told me you'd protect me, but all you did was drag me into more mess. Nathan's mind raced. There was more here, so much more. Who are you really, Victor? He asked, because clearly, you're not just some tracker. Victor smirked. I used to work with her. We did jobs. Dangerous ones, but she betrayed the wrong people. Lena's voice broke. I didn't betray anyone. I wanted out. I was pregnant with Liam. I couldn't keep living that life. Nathan's heart cracked. She had lied, but also tried to protect. He looked at Liam again. His tiny hand pressed to the glass. Victor pulled something from his Code A phone. He showed Lena. Too late. They know where you are. They're coming. The cabin lights flickered. A car engine roared in the distance. Nathan's instincts kicked in. We need to go now. Lena hesitated, but where? Nathan grabbed Liam's coat and ran inside. He scooped the boy into his arms. Daddy, what's happening? Liam asked, scared. Everything's going to be okay, buddy. Nathan whispered, I promise. Outside, Victor pointed toward the woods. There's a trail takes us to the back road. No one will find us there. Lena followed. She looked at Nathan. Tears streaming. I'm sorry for everything. He didn't answer. Not yet. Too much had shattered. But they ran, through trees and shadows, together, and just as gunshots rang out behind them, Nathan held Liam tighter, shielded by his arms, and whispered, No one is taking my son again. Nathan drove through the rain-soaked streets, his knuckles white as he gripped the steering wheel. Lena sat beside him, silent, drenched, her eyes staring into nothing as the world outside blurred past in the back seat. Little Ava hugged her stuffed bunny tight, sensing something was terribly wrong. They didn't speak until they reached the edge of town, where Nathan pulled into a dimly lit parking lot behind an abandoned motel. He killed the engine, but didn't move. The silence was so heavy it felt like it might crush them. Lena finally turned to him, her voice barely a whisper. Don't have to run with us. You could have just left me. Nathan stared at her like she was a stranger. Run? I'm not running, he said. I'm protecting my daughter. I'm protecting the truth. Ava whimpered softly in the back, and Lena turned around to comfort her. Nathan watched her hands, once so familiar, now trembling as they stroked Ava's hair. It hurt, because for a second, he saw the woman he used to love. Nathan opened the glove compartment and took out a manila envelope. He slid it across to her. She looked at it hesitantly, but when she opened it, her hands flew to her mouth. Inside were photo surveillance stills, screenshots, printouts of messages between Lena and David. The man she swore was just a coworker. You said it ended, Nathan said, his voice quiet but sharp as a blade. But the last message was from 2 nights ago. You were still with him while pretending this family mattered. Lena's face crumpled. I was scared. I didn't know how to leave. He said he'd help me get away from everything. Nathan's jaw clenched. From me? You mean, from Ava's father? Lena shook her head. No. From the lies. From myself. I hated who I became with you. That broke something inside Nathan, not because it was untrue, but because it was. He stood up, stepped out into the rain, letting it wash over him like it might cleanse the rage burning through his veins. But then headlights appeared in the distance, a black car, one that hadn't been there a moment ago. Nathan's instincts kicked in. He opened the back door, grabbed Ava, and turned to Lena. We have to go now. Wait, what is that car? Lena asked, panic surging through her. I don't know, Nathan said, but I've seen it before, and I'm done waiting for the pieces to fall this time. I'm choosing the ending. And just as he buckled Ava in, a door from the black car opened, and a familiar figure stepped out. It wasn't David, it was someone neither of them expected, Lena's sister. But what she said next would shake everything apart. Nathan froze as the figure stepped fully into the headlights. It was Monica, Lena's older sister, drenched from the rain, her hair matted to her face, and her eyes wide with something between fury and desperation. "Lena," gasped Monica, "what the hell are you doing here?" But Monica didn't answer her. Instead, she looked directly at Nathan. "I tried to warn you," she said through gritted teeth. "I told you she wasn't who you thought she was." Nathan's heartbeat pounded in his ears. "What are you talking about?" Monica pulled a folded envelope from her coat and tossed it on the hood of Nathan's car. Inside were bank statements, screenshots, and a voice recording evidence that Lena had not only been cheating, but had also been funneling money from their joint savings account into a private 1A secret fund. "For months," Monica said, "she was planning to take Ava and disappear. She lied to both of us, to everyone." Lena stepped forward, shaking. "That's not true. I was trying to protect Ava from the fight, from the way he'd change when he was angry." Nathan cut in. "I never laid a hand on either of you. I raised Ava. I stayed when you emotionally checked out. Don't rewrite the story just because you got caught." Monica's voice trembled. "And David, he wasn't just a fling. He was the one helping Lena plan her escape to another state." Lena burst into tears. "It wasn't like that. I didn't want to hurt anyone. But the damage had been done." Monica turned to Nathan. "You have to decide now. Take Ava and go. I'll testify if you need it, but don't let her spin another lie." Nathan looked into the back seat. Ava had fallen asleep, unaware of the storm raging around her. He closed the door gently and walked to Lena. "You broke something that can't be fixed," he said. "I'll protect our daughter, but we're done." Lena reached out, but Nathan stepped back. "I'm not doing this out of hate," he added. "I'm doing it because Ava deserves peace, and I finally deserve the truth." Monica placed a hand on Nathan's shoulder as he turned to leave. The rain poured harder, but Nathan didn't care anymore. It was cleansing now, not chaotic. Just the start of something new. He drove off into the dark, Ava safe in the back seat, and a new chapter waiting just beyond the headlights. For the first time in years, he wasn't running from pain, he was choosing healing. The end.